folks, we are about to get underway. This is our Friday morning coffee chat with Rod and your opportunity to ask all your questions. So please join me and we'll get underway in just one moment. Okay, welcome everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Thanks for joining me. This is Rod here, and here I am. Actually, I'm not. Now I should be here. Okay, sorry about that folks. Technical difficulties. I've been moving the studio around and as you can see, a few little challenges still, but we're working on it. Hope you're all well. Just while we're getting set up here, let me know where you're tuning in from. This is our Friday morning Coffee with Rod chat and your opportunity to ask me any questions at all about learning to paint. I'm here for you for the next 45 minutes. So hopefully all the technology will work okay and all will be good. So, does look like I've frozen again. Just bear with me for 1 minute, folks. Give me one moment. Oh. Okay. All right, if your face is going to freeze, that'd have to be the worst possible shot for it to freeze on, right? So welcome, Rod Moore here, and good to see you all. This is our Friday morning Coffee with Rod coffee chat, and your chance to ask any questions at all about anything to do with painting, learning to paint, or even if you want, about how to become a full-time artist and make a career out of art, which is what I've been very blessed and fortunate enough to do. I've got a few announcements and things we're going to go through, just to let you know what's happening with the Learn to Paint Academy and so on. Pardon me. And, you know, while I'm making those announcements, type your questions in and we'll get them answered. I've got a few questions that have come in over the last week or so, which I'll also answer. So welcome, Christy. I am here, and hopefully we've sorted out our technical issues there. Pardon me. Just got to sort out my cough now. Stephen, how you going, mate? Hope you're good in Canada. Hi, Gloria. Welcome. Catherine, hi. You received the mug. Thank you very much. Now we can have coffee together, right? And I will be giving away another mug today on our live stream here, and a limited edition mouse mat. And what I'm going to do today is give the coffee mug away to somebody on YouTube and the mouse mat to somebody on Facebook. And I'm going to give it this is going to be me just choosing, right? So it's going to be my decision. I'm going to give it to the most interesting question asked during the live stream. So the most interesting question on YouTube, I'll send you out one of my coffee mugs. And the most interesting question on Facebook, I'm going to send you out a limited edition mouse mat. So your opportunity to play a part in the success of what we're doing here. Hi, Barbara in Pennsylvania. Welcome. John, hopefully it's not frozen now, mate. Just had a couple of little technical glitches. I've been trying to, if you were on our live stream yesterday, I've been trying to rearrange the studio so that the palette setup is better, but also the camera that picks up the main painting. I want to get that shot a lot better than what it's been. So I've been playing around the studio and had a couple of little glitches as we got started here this morning, so I apologise for that. John saying still waiting for his mouse mat. John, did you contact our support and give us your address? I can't remember off the top of my head. If you have, it will be on its way. If not, maybe just contact our support desk and give us a reminder of what your address is and so on, because it should have got there pretty soon. Hi, Jean from Gold Coast. Welcome, welcome. So this is our coffee chat and your chance to ask any questions. So whatever questions you've got about art, learning to paint, even being an artist, how to sell your art or make an income from art, or teaching art, which is my favorite thing, then feel free to type them in and we'll get to answering them today. So welcome, Sandra in Tassie. Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. So yeah, type your questions in, and I've got a couple of announcements we'll go through, what's happening with the Learn to Paint Academy, what's coming up and so on. And while I'm doing that, it'll give you a chance to type in your questions. And our most valuable player or most interesting question on YouTube will win a coffee mug. On Facebook, our limited edition mouse mat. So that's coming up. And I've also got a couple of questions that are coming, which I'll go through as well. So we should have a bit of fun. We'll go for about 45 minutes here today. So welcome to those just joining us. Let us know whereabouts in the world you are. And John says he went to his web and left it. John, can you just contact our support again just as a reminder so we can make sure that we've sent it out and so on. You need to go through our support desk. So if you go to learntopaint.online/support and then use the messenger system that you'll find on there to make sure that we've got that, we'll be able to help you track what's happened there. Okay, so a couple of announcements. That we have, and what's happening with the Learn to Paint Academy. I've got a couple of things actually. So for those who are in the Loose, Bold and Expressive course, thank you. I've just recently put up a brand new episode. In fact, I'll show you this one here, that one there. Okay, so that's a acrylic seascape of Coolum Beach. So that's our most recent project that we've put up in the Loose, Bold and Expressive course. And I'm doing one more today/tomorrow. So depending on whether I can get the cameras and everything to work, it should be fine. Yeah, so the next couple of days anyway, I'll have the fourth project will be up in the Loose, Bold and Expressive course. So look out for that, maybe early next week. And I hope you've been enjoying the course. I appreciate everyone who's joined me in the course. Hello, Molly. This is my little studio cat. Say hi, Molly. Hi, everyone. She's not very user-friendly, unfortunately. She was a stray in the neighbourhood. Nobody was looking after her and she was starving. And she used to come and visit all the time, and so I just decided to adopt her, basically. She's my little studio cat. You can see she doesn't like being picked up. But she does like being in the studio here while we're painting. Don't you, Dale? Yes. She's a very beautiful girl. She was a lot thinner and scrawnier when I got her, I can tell you. And she used to turn up on our doorstep and she was, hadn't been fed in what seemed like forever. But she's very happy here now. Made herself right at home. Anyway, so that's the Loose, Bold and Expressive course. Don't do that. Just going to claw at my cords. The next one is the water mixable oil course. For those of you who are in the water mixable oil course, and as you can see, I'm doing a lot more water mixable oils. Really loving the water mixable oils. So we did a course a month or so ago on that. And if you're in that, I just want to let you know that I'm adding more videos to it. So I'm going to add in a video about mediums, because when I filmed that course, I was only using water as a medium, but I've started to use other mediums with the water mixable oils, and I think to good effect. So I'm going to do a video on that. And I'm also, I've ordered another brand, which a lot of people have raved about with water mixable oils. It's the Cobra brand from Royal Talons. So I'll get those next week, hopefully, and I'll do a little comparison video between different brands of water mixable oils. So if you're in the water mixable oil course, or you're a monthly member or a lifetime member, then look out for that in the next week or so. I'm just adding more things into that course because I think it's such an important topic. Got a few more people joining us, which is good. Hi Kay in MO in the USA. I'm assuming that's Missouri, but I could be wrong. Or is it Maryland? Not sure. But welcome anyway. Good to have you here. And Mark, g'day Mark. You're in New South Wales. Good on you, mate, for joining us. Yvonne, welcome in Perth. Good to see you again. And she used to be all white. Right, I'm not sure what you mean there, John. Perhaps you could expand on... Oh, the cat. Right, yeah. Molly, yeah. She, that's my biggest fear, actually, is that I have wet paint everywhere and paintings in it. She's going to go up and... Yeah, fingers crossed she won't, hey? So, hey, guys, while I'm just chatting here, please type in your questions, because this is the whole idea of our coffee chat, is to get your questions answered. So, type them in, because... I'm going to give away a coffee mug to the best question on YouTube, and I'm going to give away a mouse mat to the best question on Facebook, but you have to actually ask the question in the comments. So, g'day Vicky in Alabama. One of my favourite bands did a song about Alabama, Sweet Home Alabama. Good to have you here. Okay, now, so that's a water mixable oil course, and the next course I want to tell you about is one that we have coming up, which may be of interest to you, and that's going to be more of an advanced course. It's going to be advanced impressionism, and I'm going to mostly use water mixable oils. In fact, I'll use all water mixable oils, and it's going to be, this is the first project. So this is Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast, a couple of hours away from where I live, famous part of Queensland here in Australia. And Molly was very restless today. You settle down, sweetie. Trying to find something to scratch. Yeah, so this was the first one. So this is an advanced course that I'm doing. And the reason why I'm doing an advanced course is I've been doing teaching painting now for 6 years or so. And quite a few of you have come with me all the way through. And I really appreciate every single one of you who have, been involved, watched, followed along, joined our courses, etc. I really appreciate you all, and those who've joined our teaching program as well. And so a number of you have progressed quite well beyond beginner stage. And so as you get from beginner to intermediate, we want to explore how do we take the Moore method of painting and now develop that into more advanced painting, more finished painting, more painting that you might hang in galleries or put in exhibitions and so on. Because I know that a number of you are really ready for that, So I'm doing this more advanced projects. So this one took me about 3 hours to do. When I edit it down, it might be about 2.5 hours. And I go through every single step and the mistakes and all, because one of the things I find frustrating with, I've watched hundreds of DVDs. I buy online art courses all the time. I'm a member of half a dozen different online art teaching websites, so I buy courses all the time, right? It's I love learning. So one of the things I find frustrating though is I never ever see them make mistakes, and partly because a lot of them are very good artists, right? And they don't make mistakes. But I'm sure that there's a lot of editing that goes on where the mistakes get. That's a handball. That's Aussie rules. AFL football. A lot of the mistakes that get made get edited out of the video or the course or the footage that you see, and I kind of feel like you need to see the mistakes and how to correct them. And let me know if you agree with me. Like, just type a yes in and let me know. But I kind of feel like you really need to see if mistakes are made, how do you recover from them and correct them? So I've left I didn't make many mistakes, but little simple, I might put a colour up and it's the wrong value, and so how do I adjust it? So I've left all of that in. So this Burley Heads one probably end up being about 2.5 hours. And what I plan to do with the advanced impressionist course, this is the first episode, is I'm going to do it over about 6 months, probably 6 months initially. And if it's popular, I'll keep it going. But each month I'll release an advanced project like this one. And I'll give you the photo reference. But when I took the photo for this painting, I took 20 or 30 photos in that same area of the same scene, right? I took them from a distance, I took them up close, I walked around different angles, and I picked out that photo for this painting. But in the course, when I give you the videos for this project, I'm also going to give you all the reference material so that you can try different versions of the one painting, and I'd highly recommend that. So that's coming up, and I'm going to release one project in each month. So this one will come out in May, and then we'll go for 6 months. And if it's popular enough and people are enjoying it and getting value out of it, then I'll keep it going beyond that. So look out for that. I'm going to release that in... Cat's playing now. I'm going to release that in the next week or two. Probably maybe late next week, if I can get my act together with that. Very busy at the moment. But I think that'll be an enjoyable course for anybody who's been painting for 6 months, a year, and you feel like you've got a handle on the basics. If you don't have a handle on the basics, this is probably not for you. But if you do, then jump right in. G'day Sue, welcome. Hi Sandra. Sandra's asked a question, can you use water-based oil with oil-based oil paints? You probably can, but would you want to and should you is probably the question, right? So Sandra, right now you are the leader on Facebook as far as the most interesting question. So I'm going to put your name down there, Sandra Lee. Okay, I'll keep a note. Yeah, you probably can, but I don't know that you want to, because as soon as you do that, the water mixable oils, you're going to lose the advantage of the water mixable oils because you'll be introducing the traditional oils, the traditional oils that have the linseed oil in it, right? The water mixable oils have a modified version of linseed oil. If you put them together, then you're going to dilute the value of the water mixable oils. So the question would be, why would you want to do that? If you've got leftover paints and so on you want to use up, then yeah, you probably can, but you're not going to be able to wash your brushes out in water and clean up your hands in water. You're going to be back to using solvents and so on, which, my whole reason for moving away from traditional oils is I had a bit of a cancer scare recently, and I'm not saying it was traditional oils and solvents and things, but you got to look at your life and everything that's in it that is maybe a problem and get rid of those. So my preference is keep the water mixable oils, and have a set of brushes for those and keep them separate from everything else that you do is what I would recommend. That's a really good question though, Sandra. And right at the moment, you're leading the way for our mouse mat. So good on you. Okay, Yvonne's saying, I agree, mistakes corrected is a wonderful tip for artists. Yeah, I think so. I think it's valuable. And, I can see why some artists would want to edit out their mistakes because, people could read the wrong thing into the mistakes. But I think paintings are... Don't play with the cord, naughty girl. I think mistakes are... I think all of painting is a series of correcting... let's not call them mistakes. A series of correcting the previous brush marks, okay? To process a correction back and forward all the time. So... there we go. Thank you, Yvonne. Stephen's asking, what is the best way to choose the frame you want to paint when free air painting? I think maybe you're referring to plein air painting. Maybe you have a different way of describing it, Stephen, but if you're out plein air painting, it all comes down to composition. So you've got to try and find a composition, like first of all, you've got to decide what format are we painting on, right? Let me grab one of these. I'll grab one of those and one of those. So this is a good question, Stephen. I actually think you might pop into the lead here. Right, so let's say we go out with plein air painting or even in the studio, and I've got a choice of an MDF board here, which is a 12 by 16, right? This is one that I've prepared with a fairly warm sort of ground on it, okay? So I've got that size to paint on, and I've got this one here, which is more of a landscape, panoramic landscape format. So the first thing I would do is look at the scene and go, well, what is the shape of it, right? So not too far away from here, there's Mooloolaba Beach, and it has this really long headland. It runs out like that, and in the foreground it's got these a rock shelf. And the only way you can paint it is to paint it in that second format that I just showed you. So I think you've got to pick your painting surface to match the scene that you're looking at. Now, if you go out and you're looking at, maybe fields with mountains and trees and so on, a lot of what you need to do is cut and paste, right? You have to do that in your own mind because you can't physically move. Wouldn't that be good? Move that mountain over there or put that rock there. It's a bit worried the cat's going to pull everything. The whole studio setup here is fairly, if the wind blows, it's all going to fall over, put it that way. And Molly's being naughty. So you have to mentally crop things and move things around, right? So I'll move trees across because nobody's going to take your painting down and look at it on site. And so what I look for is strong compositional elements. So I like, a strong foreground vertical, like a tree, which you want on either side. You don't want it right in the middle. And I like depth and distance, so fields and mountains in the back. That's the sort of thing that I look for. So I drive around looking for particular subjects that suit what I want to paint. But then I think it also comes down to understanding composition. So if you have a good knowledge of composition, which we haven't really talked a lot about, and perhaps we need to do a little mini course on composition and do some sessions on composition as well, perhaps. So not sure if you think that's a good idea, but we might do that. Stephen, I know I've rambled on there, mate. I hope I've given you something to think about in terms of your question. Okay. How do you go about finding the best frame? So how do you go about finding the best frames for your paintings? Framing your paintings is a challenge, and probably the easiest way, if you're just starting out selling, because most people don't think about framing their paintings until they're looking to either sell their work or pop them up on their own walls, right, and frame them. So if you're just starting out, I wouldn't paint any bigger than a 12 by 16 if you're thinking about framing and selling and so on. She is going to trash the place, Miriam. Hi, Miriam. How you going? She's been extremely naughty, so I think she's trying to get my attention. Frames. If you're looking to sell and you're thinking about frames, I wouldn't paint any bigger than a 12 by 16. I would paint 8 by 10s, 10 by 12s, and stick with that initially, right? And I would look at somewhere like Dick Blick. They've got a big Blicks online or whatever the heck they're called. I might put it up on our website or links to them. But they've got a great range of frames. And if you paint on panels, right? Let's have a look here. You can either make up your own MDF panels, which I've done a video on, right? The problem with making up your own MDF boards, okay, is that when you go and get these cut at the hardware store, they don't always get them exact measurements. So I'll say 12 by 16, but they might be 11.9 by 16.2. Do you know what I mean? Like that, there's a tolerance issue with having them prepared. If, however, you get canvas boards like this made up, I haven't taken it out of the wrapper yet, but what's this one? This is a 9 by 12, right? That's going to be closer to the perfect size. So then you can paint on that, and you can go and look in somewhere like Dick Blick's, and they've got a range of frames, and best to choose your frame first and then find a canvas panel to go into it, because they may not have a 9 by 12, right? And typically for seascapes, I like a white sort of distressed timber look. And for more traditional landscapes, I like golds and blacks. So it comes down to personal preference, I think. Okay, I'm getting a bit behind on the questions here. Hope that answers your question, Sue. John, g'day mate in Taiwan, hope you're well. Ches, I've tried mixing, but it goes cloggy, so I wouldn't recommend. Okay, I'm not sure what you were talking about. Perhaps you could expand on that, Ches, because I'm not entirely sure. Stephen, yes, you need to fix what is off. I think you're referring to my previous comments about taking everything out of your life that that isn't serving you in a positive way. Ches, how do you get clouds to look fluffy? Mine tend to look quite flat. Ches, that's a really good question, because yesterday we did a live stream and we talked about how to paint clouds, right? We talked about values and how do you create values within a cloud and paint a cloud. And check that out on our YouTube or our Facebook page. Where are you? You're on Facebook. So go and have a look under the video section of our Facebook page there. And make sure you've liked our page. And if you're on YouTube, make sure you've subscribed so you get notifications of our... So we did that one yesterday in oil paint. And next week we're going to do exactly the same painting in acrylics. So you'll see both ways. Okay. Hi, Miriam. She's going to trash the place. She is being extremely naughty. Yes, she is, Sue, trying to get my attention. G'day, Donald. Welcome back. Yvonne, probably the mixing of water, soluble oils and oils. Probably the mixing of water, soluble oils and oils. Oh, okay, I see what you mean. You're referring to what Ches was saying. Yeah, I just don't recommend it. I think traditional oils. So what's in a tube? You've got to understand that in a tube of paint, here's the artisan Winsor & Newton paint, right? Okay. What is actually in the tube? So there's two main components. There's pigment. There's pigment and there's linseed oil. Okay. Now that's exactly the same traditional oil versus water mixable oils. Now, if you get a cheaper brand, student quality brand, there's also filler in there, because there's less pigmentation, right? But basically in traditional oils and water mixable oils, it's pigment and linseed oil. Now the difference between traditional oils and water mixable is the linseed oil has been modified in the water mixable so that the water mixable mixes with water. Okay, that's the difference. But that is a big difference. It's a chemical difference. So therefore, keep your traditional oils over here and keep your water mixable oils over here. Have a separate set of brushes. Same with your acrylics, yeah? Pretty easy. I think that's the best policy there. Otherwise, yeah, as Ches has pointed out, they go a bit cluggy. Okay. Yeah, go and check that out, Ches. And also, we'll be doing the acrylic version of the clouds tomorrow. So, all right. So, where are we? Art Taylor, welcome. Are water reflections normally darker or lighter, or does it depend on the subject? From Pennsylvania, USA. Yeah, it does depend on the subject, really. It depends on the lighting conditions is the main thing that it depends on. It depends on where the light is and what the source is and the angle and so on. But I think if you're going to paint a reflection in the water, it's usually value darker is the best general rule. But with every rule, there's it all depends. So every rule can be broken. For instance, one of the general rules that I always teach people is warm colours in the foreground, cool colours in the background. But sometimes you want a warm colour in your sky or in your mountain, right? So every rule can be bent. So I think it depends. But as a general rule, I would always think that my reflection is going to be a value step darker. Okay. G'day, Eddie in Donegal. That sounds like Ireland. Pardon me. Welcome. Good to have you here, mate. You're up late, but we appreciate it. All right. I haven't got my glasses on. Ms. Laura Judd. Have you ever painted on rocks? It's a big thing here in the USA. I have not, but I may. Who knows? I may give that a try. It'd be an interesting sort of crafty type of exercise, and yeah, I think I'll give that a try. It's the kind of thing my wife would like. She's doing mandalas and things like that. Gladys, do you use natural bristle brushes for both acrylic and oils? Yes, absolutely. So the way in the Learn to Paint Academy, the way I've sort of structured it, the way we teach is that when we teach acrylics, we teach it in the same approach that you might use in oils. So the transition between the two, acrylics to oils, oils to water mixable oils, and so on, that the working methodology is very similar and the process is very much the same, right? So that I want my students to be able to learn in acrylics and easily step across to water mixable oils. So therefore, the brushes I use are almost identically the same. Now, in the beginner to intermediate type courses we do, I'm teaching you to use 3 brushes, right? A big, a medium, and a small with a script liner brush. But when I come up with something like this, I'm adding in some synthetic brushes for softening and blending. You know, as we get more advanced, we add in more into it, yeah? Hope that helps answer your question. Please don't edit. I learned so much. Terrific. Thank you for that feedback, Gladys. John's saying the only painting on rocks he's seen are at tourist traps in souvenir shops. You may be right. However, I have seen it done as a bit of a, markets and things like that. Ham has called me the bald Australian Bob Ross. Well, thank you for the compliment, kind of. I like to think I've advanced beyond the way Bob Ross teaches, but I appreciate the thought. Thanks, Ham. Eddie, hi Rod. People say my paintings are very good, but I'm still not convinced and afraid to show them. How do you get over that? Well, depends on why you want to show them. That's the big question. If you're showing them to go into an exhibition or an art show or on display on a website, what you're really saying is I want to go out and sell them, right? So you've got when you make that mental step from going, this is a hobby and I'm just going to have fun and paint at home, to I now want to become a commercial artist, right? And the reality is the moment you put a dollar price tag on your painting, you become a commercial artist, right? You're now thinking about selling your art. And artists struggle with this, unfortunately. I've seen artists who they run around, do markets, and they're in exhibitions, and they've got art online, all trying to sell it, but then they turn around in their social media, they say things like, I'm not interested in selling my art, I just want to get it out there. Well, you've got to get over that, right? So you've got to get over the resistance to selling if you want to sell your art. So now the thing you've got to understand though is that family and friends are not the marketplace unless they're currently buying your art, which that doesn't happen that often. So the feedback you get from family and friends is different from the feedback you'll get from the reality of the marketplace. Okay, and what's the worst thing that could happen, Eddie, if you put your paintings out there? What's the worst that could happen? That you get criticised? It doesn't matter what you do in this life, you're always going to get criticism. I've copped heaps of criticism with our TV show, and we've learned to paint Academy. I get heaps of criticism, but who cares? I'm only interested in the people who resonate with what we're doing, and anything you do in this life is you subject yourself to criticism or negative feedback, and just ignore that. That's just people's opinion. Who cares? I would say that give it a go and see what happens. And then just keep improving and have an attitude of I'm just constantly going to keep improving. But I'm going to put my stuff out there, as soon as I possibly can. Okay, John, there are no mistakes. Everything is there to modify. Yep, I like that. Absolutely. He's not bald. A car with a moonroof isn't a convertible. Thanks, John. Hopefully you'll say I'm not fat as well. Appreciate that. Gladys, I love your comment about not repeating a shape when doing clouds. Yeah, that's and trees, clouds and trees, rocks. We tend to do 3 shapes like that, right? And that's the biggest sign of amateurish painting is, and that's not a criticism because we all start there, right? But the biggest indicator of somebody who hasn't really developed their ability to be able to see properly and paint what they see is they're painting from their unconscious mind. And what I mean by that is when we're kids, I'll show you what we do when we're kids. We want to make mum happy, right? So we do a drawing at primary school, and I might pop this one up on eBay. You never know. All right, so we do a little landscape like that. I hope so you can see that. Put it back in the light there. And we've got, three trees that look like lollipops, and a mountain, and 3 clouds that are repeated, right? And we do that as a kid, and our teacher loves it, and mum puts a star on it and puts it up in the fridge. And in our unconscious mind, we program ourselves, that's how you do a tree. And then 50 years go by and we get to nearing retirement or whatever, and we think, oh, I've always wanted to paint. And what do we paint? We paint what's in the back of our head, right? So, yeah, repeating shapes is a big killer. Edges. So I really think when you're starting out as a beginner, the number one thing to master is how you identify and then locate the main shapes. And if you can break it down to half a dozen big shapes and put them correctly on the canvas in the right spot with the right shape and edge, then you are 40 or 50% of the way to good painting. And that's the hard part, right? And people overlook that. They think that drawing is the key to, being a good artist, or a lot of people think that drawing is the key to being a good artist. And in their mind, what drawing is a highly detailed graphite representation of a subject, right? And that is good drawing, no doubt. But in terms of painting, it's about location of big shapes, breaking it down into half a dozen big shapes and putting them in the right place on the canvas with the right edges. That's the starting point. And if you get that wrong, then the painting, veers off in the wrong direction. Alrighty. Where are we up to? Cheers. I have trouble getting water where it meets the sand to look natural, to look translucent like water. Yeah, there's some complexities to that. And there's a lot of different ways of getting that to look right. It depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at a beach where the water's coming up onto the sand and then it's retracting back, and what it's leaving behind is wet sand, and then sometimes you have foam sitting over the top of that, then there's a certain approach to painting that. If you're looking at like the water where it's a little bit deep and you've got a sandy bottom, and there's different things that you have to consider for each of those, and perhaps we'll explore that as we progress into the future. G'day Ruby in the Philippines. Welcome. Hi Darlene in Alabama. Welcome back. G'day Julie. Hope you're well. Julie, you're probably going out painting today on a Friday. Hey Misty, how are you? All right. Well, I've got how long have we got? We've still got, maybe we'll make this 45 minutes, this one today. I've got a couple of other questions here. Somebody asked yesterday on our live stream, hello sweetie, asked yesterday on our live stream, come on, you want to say hi to people again? There we go. Oh, you don't want to say hi? Oh, sweetie. They asked yesterday, I was mixing up a dark and I used blue, red, yellow and white, right? The three primary colours. Okay, this is just not working, is it? Off you go. They asked what and I just used black. I guess it comes down to the whole philosophy of what I do at Learn to Paint Academy, right? Is I want to teach the correct principles of painting. So, I started out, when I very first started, I became certified as a Bill Alexander teacher, and Bill taught Bob Ross, right? It's a very methodical approach, but the problem with that approach, and I'm not disrespecting it or anything like that, I know a lot of people love it, and that's where I started. The problem with that approach is unless you're doing a Bob Ross style painting, or a Bill Alexander style painting, you can't go and pick up a subject and utilize what you've learnt to do that subject. So you're not learning the fundamentals of painting, right? Color mixing and things like that in the way that you should. So basically, when I created the Moore method of painting, I wanted to strip back everything to its bare basics. And to me, the bare basics of color and mixing is that you have a blue, you have primary colors, you have a blue, a red and a yellow. And everything stems from that, right? Now I add booster colors just to expedite things a bit, especially when I want to get warmer highlights. So I add my cadmium yellow as a booster color, but it's 10% of what we do. So we do 3 colors and we get 80 to 90% of our painting, right? So this one here, watch out, sweetie. This one here, 3 basic colors, right? Ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and yellow ochre, and you can see that in there. And there's color harmony, right? And then there's a little bit of cadmium yellow in it, but not much. Did I use any iridium? No. And maybe there's a little pinhead of cadmium red in a few spots just to really strengthen up the darks. But three colours, right? And if you can learn to three colours, he says, three. If you can learn to mix everything from three colours, then you start to get the basics of good colour mixing down. And you've got to move it from your conscious mind to your unconscious, so you no longer have to think about it. And you can't do that with a complex array. So the question was, why didn't I just use black? Well, because that adds another colour to the palette. And of course you could use black. But I do think black goes a bit muddy, right? It's not as pleasing as mixing your own dark grey. You have to move, sweetie. Come on, move. It's not as pleasing a colour as mixing your own dark grey, and then pushing it to a warm side or a cool side by a little bit more red, a little bit more blue. I think you get much better results with that. So knowing how to mix colours properly, I think, is the key to, one of the keys to starting out. I really do. Okay, cheers. Yes, that is exactly what I meant, where the water washed up onto the beach. Yeah, okay, well, we sort of covered that yesterday. And then you've got things like reflections in wet water and so on. So we kind of covered that a little bit yesterday. And, maybe this project here might be of interest to you as well. So, yeah. Okay. Somebody mentioned that they were scared of painting seascapes. That was Cindy Chambers. And I wanted to just talk about this one briefly, and then we'll start to wind up. So when she said she was scared of painting seascapes, I think in order to be able to paint any subject, you really need to understand that subject. So to understand the subject properly, I think you have to spend time there. To become a good landscape painter or a good seascape painter, I think you need to be in the landscape or in the seascape as much as possible, right? So if you lived in a desert and you've only been to the beach once in your life, you're going to struggle to paint really good beaches and seascapes. If you want to be a landscape painter but you never go out into the country and get your own reference material and get photos yourself and get the emotion and the feeling of the place, the atmosphere, you're going to struggle to paint that subject. So, to Cindy, who said that she's scared of painting seascapes, I think go to the beach, right, and get a real feel for it. Get the salt in your hair and painting any subject is a series of steps to process. And with the Moore method of painting, you can follow our 3 steps. That's what we did yesterday with that seascape cloud painting, right? Just follow the steps, and we applied basic fundamental knowledge like values, color mixing, composition to those 3 steps, and it works. So what's the worst that can happen? You make a mess on your canvas and you have to throw the canvas out. How many times do you reckon I've done that? I reckon I've probably filled up 2 skips over the years, mainly in the earlier days, where I've just loaded up with paintings that didn't work. So what's the worst that can happen? Not much, right? Okay, we're going to wrap up. I am going to Misty's saying her cat ruins my paintings. You have to keep them up high. I keep getting scared she's going to jump up on my palette and then she's going to walk colour through the house. John Dwyer, do you do many paintings using mostly or exclusively palette knives? Good question, John. Not exclusively, no. But to a degree. So let me show you this painting here again. This one is from the last painting we did for Loose, Bold and Expressive course. And you can see there's plenty of palette knife work in here, and in the sand. So it's probably about 1/3 of it. The rest of it was brush in here. So it's about 1/3 palette knife, but not exclusively, no. Because, well, there's no reason, because I just don't. I think it probably would be good for us to do a little training on palette knife work though, so we might do that. I saw some paintings done with palette knives. Yeah, some people are extremely good with palette knives, for sure. Donald Trump, g'day Donald. You keep getting booted off everywhere, I think. So I don't think you'll last here long. Can you talk the American way? UK accent kills. This is not a UK accent, I'm afraid, Donald. But that's kind of amusing though, isn't it? This is an Aussie accent, mate. So, John, I really like the palette knives too. The texture you can get with palette knives is definitely awesome. So we might play around with that maybe on a future live stream. Hi, Joyce. I love your style of painting with a limited palette. Yeah, thank you. And I want to, in one of our art studio tips in the next few weeks, I'm going to do color harmony and how to create color harmony with a limited palette. So look out for that, because I think it's a really important topic, is that you've got your three primary colors, but you don't have them in equal amounts in any one painting. So what are of the three primaries, which two are dominating in this painting here, do you think? Right? Two of the three are dominating. So which ones do you think of the three? I'll let you answer that. Yes, Diana, you are correct. Aussie, mate. John, very nice. Yep. Yeah, it is impressionistic, which is mostly what I do, is loose impressionistic work. Joyce, it looks like you have added a different red colour on this one today. This one, or the loose, bold and expressive, we have an expanded palette that we're using. So there's a bright cadmium red in that one I just showed you before. He needs to go. Palette knife tutorial would be good. Okay, I'll keep that. John, you're saying blue and red. Have another guess, mate. Have another guess. A lot of greens in there. Right. So I've used two of the three predominantly. There is, granted, there is a fair bit of red to get this brown in here, but overall, it's more blue and yellow, right? That's why there's a green in there as well. Purple's not a primary colour, Joyce. So I'm talking about the three primary colours, blue, red and yellow. So predominantly it's blue and yellow in here. And then there's red in here, but there's still, to get that brown, you still have to have a lot of blue and yellow. So they're the two predominant colours in there, right? I can't remember why we started talking about this. Limited palette, perhaps. So anyway, let us get back. I am going to award on Facebook, if he's still there, blue and yellow, correct, Stephen? Ches would have said the red. That's interesting. That's interesting. John, if anyone really struggles with colours, I would suggest using a colour wheel, but stick with the limited palette. Good advice, John. John's one of our more certified instructors over in Taiwan. So if you're in Taiwan area or you know anyone interested in doing a class, get in contact with John. So I'm going to award our brain fade mouse mat to Stephen Christie for his question about when you go out plein air painting, how do you select what you're going to paint? I thought it was a really interesting question. So Stephen, if you contact me and just remind me of your address. Stephen's also one of our more certified instructors. So just send me an email, Stephen. Just remind me of your address and we'll send that out to you. And then you can look at my, well, it's not actually me, it's my caricature. Probably better looking than me. You can stare at me when you're using your computer. And okay, so over on YouTube, who are we going to award? I'm going to award our coffee mug on YouTube to Eddie Mulligan. Eddie asked the question about, I think he was referring to his friends and family saying his work's very good, but he just doesn't have the confidence to get it out there. So Eddie, I really appreciate your question. I appreciate everyone's questions. I'm going to award you our coffee mug, mate. So if you go to learntopaint.online/support, contact our support desk, let us know your postal address and that you've won the coffee mug, and we'll send it out to you. Alrighty. So I hope I've answered everyone's questions. If I've missed your question or your comment, then I do apologise. It's not a perfect science just yet, but we are working on it. So I appreciate you guys all being here. Hope it's been of value for you. I enjoy doing the chat format like this because I like to interact and I like to get feedback from you and I like to hear what your questions are and hopefully I can help you guys become better painters, and enjoy your painting more but just advance and become better painters. So especially for those of you who are really into it and really committed, if you really love it, just learn those fundamentals, keep practicing, keep pushing for yourself forward, and that's all I did. Right? I just loved it so much. I just kept going, and it's been a great ride. I've really enjoyed it. And I love having you guys here interested in what we do here at the Learn to Paint Academy, and for all your support. So thank you all very much. And do you have a YouTube link? Ches, if you go to YouTube, I meant to put this up as well. Where's my head at? There we go. If you go to YouTube and you search for Learn to Paint, then you'll find my videos there, right? Learn to Paint Rod Moore. You'll find my videos there. And on the screen there right now, I've put up our web address. So if you're new to us and you haven't really looked at what we do yet, then I'll invite you to come and join me on this website here, which is www.learntopaint.info. And what will happen is that will take you to the Learn to Paint Academy, to a page where you can register for a free course, right? I'll give you a complete course where I talk about the Moore method of painting. I talk about the 3 steps that we go through, the 3 colors, the 3 brushes, and there's 4 different painting projects there for you to try, right? And it's completely free. You just have to register an account in the Learn to Paint Academy. So if you use that web address, that'll take you to the page where you can register. And register for a free account and give it a go, right? You may decide after going through the free course that it's not for you. That's perfectly fine. It's not for everyone. But we've had 25,000 people so far go through the free course, and a lot of people have loved it and helped them learn to paint. So go and check out that website. And if you want to go to our YouTube, it's just go to YouTube and search for Learn to Paint Rod Moore, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. In fact, I'll just check. Before I only needed 5 more people to hit 15,000. Let me just check. Still saying 5 more people. So everybody on Facebook, please, please go over to YouTube and find my channel and subscribe. I need 3 more people to get to 15,000 people on YouTube. So please go over to YouTube, search for Learn to Paint and subscribe. Now, if you're on YouTube, go to Facebook and search for Learn to Paint Academy. Because the only problem with YouTube is I can't put up notifications. I can't say this is the date and time of the next live stream, and I can't give you notifications on YouTube as easily. But on Facebook, that's where we do all that, right? And we do other things on Facebook that if you're only on YouTube, you're missing out. So go to Facebook and type in Learn to Paint Academy and like our Facebook page, right? And then that way you get everything. You get to see everything that we do. And that's exciting. Let me just see if anyone else is subscribed. No, it's probably going to take a while to refresh, I think. Still at 14,997. All right. Looks like you've added a different color. Misty. Thank you, Misty. Thanks, John. Thanks, Gladys. Bye, Kitty. Her name's Molly. She's a beautiful little girl. Says 15,000 here. Sometimes it rounds it up. So I'm looking at my dashboard and it's 14,997. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Scott. Good on you. Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Darlene. Glad you enjoy them. John, thank you, mate. Yvonne, love the chat. The chat. When I read that before, I haven't got my glasses on. I really badly need my glasses. I thought you wrote in there, love the cat show. But I'm glad you love the chat show. So thank you, Yvonne. And all right, I think we're over and out. Thanks, everyone. Remember, next week, probably Tuesday my time, we are going to do the acrylic version of this, and we might even look at doing some black and white studies of clouds as well, just for a bit of fun, and to expand our knowledge. Cheers, everyone. Talk to you soon.